Hello, everyone. This is Mania here, and I'm back with my hockey specialist, Trevor.
Oh, what's up?
He's pretty excited, and we'll get to that. It'll be the first game we get to because this is just going to be the round one recap, and I think it's like a good time. It's a day late, but since some teams are like finishing up right now, it seems like the perfect time to do a recap anyway. So it kind of worked out. And so obviously we're starting with the Eastern because whenever we did our picks, we started with the Eastern first. And the first game in the Eastern Conference was between the Blue Jackets, or the first series, the Blue Jackets and the Tampa Bay Bitch Lightning. They forgot how to play hockey. They became a minor league team. And Thanos, either that or Thanos snapped them away, as you can see here. Uh, and the Tampa Bay Lightning was basically right by the Blue Jackets, and Trevor actually went to two of the games. So I'm going to let Trevor break down these games almost exclusively by himself.
Yeah. All right. So, game one, first period, Tampa outscores them 3-0. I'm sitting at home, or I went to my brother's house for that to watch it with him. As that third goal goes in, he says, "That's it. We're getting swept." Well, there was a sweep, but it was not us that got swept. Yep. So Columbus comes back, wins 4-3 in the first game, dominant 5-1 win second game. Then they come home in front of an absolutely amazing Nationwide Arena crowd. It's part of the crowd for both games. Game three, pretty close, probably much closer than game two. Very, very anxious during there. The crowd was amazing there. That I've been to a playoff game each year of the last three. That's the best crowd that I've seen there up to that point. But wow, tonight the crowd the crowd might have been twice as good tonight as it was on Sunday, which is really saying something after how good they were on Sunday.
It's easy to have a good crowd when you sweep the number one seed.
Oh yeah, but so tonight from the third period of game three, Tampa started putting a little something together. They found their rhythm. They were able to maintain zone time and pressure. Third period of game three against them, but Columbus was able to hold on. Columbus goes up 2-0 in the first 4 minutes of this game. This game four tonight. Wow, it Columbus was dominating for the first 5 or so minutes, but then Tampa came roaring back again, pulled within one goal two different times, eventually tied it up 3-3. Then Columbus scores on a tap in on a delayed penalty call. Very, very good third period by Bobrovsky. Saved everything that came his way. Tampa had tons of chances, and then to cap it all off, Jackets get three empty net goals in the last 2 minutes of play to win 7-3. First series win ever, and sweep of the one of the best regular season teams of all time.
Yeah. It's like I said, they were like you said, these were a really good team in the regular season. It's just like they kind of forgot what hockey is. They forgot what a puck was. They forgot what the stick was. They forgot what a net was. It's
And
this team just collapsed.
now Tampa was not playing their game this series. The biggest factor in the series was that Columbus played the neutral zone trap. They basically just stopped them from getting into the zone at the blue line, forced them to dump the puck in and chase it, which is not Tampa's game, and it just completely threw them off. I expect John Tortorella, Columbus's coach, to continue doing that their remaining series in the playoffs because it works so well, especially if they play Toronto next round, because Toronto plays a very similar game to Tampa, so the neutral zone trap will probably give them problems.
Okay. So now we're going to what our picks were. And I picked Tampa Bay to win in 4 games. I picked them to sweep. I was obviously wrong in Tampa Bay winning, but I do get 1 point because there was a sweep. It did end in only 4 games. So I did get a point from this. It was kind of lucky. And honestly, I have one rule. Me and Trevor talked about it before, going back and forth whenever we were first getting our rivalry thing together during the Longhorns Bowl game. And I told him, never pick against your team in the playoffs. And as Tampa Bay proved, and as the Columbus Blue Jackets proved, that's absolutely true. You never pick against your team because shit like this happens. It may be once in a blue moon, but this shit happens.
So moving on to my prediction, I picked Tampa in 5 games. I was hoping that Columbus would take one of the 2 at home so I could see them win a game. I was definitely wrong. I do want to mention though, I go into every single game that any of my teams play expecting to win. I do that every single game no matter who they're playing. And here I was simply playing the numbers. Going into the series, there's 95% chance Tampa was going to win. I played the numbers. But I had
Numbers.
every time going into a game, I expected Columbus to win.
Yeah. Well, here's my favorite thing about the playoffs is that unlike the regular season, the playoffs numbers don't matter because like this is where miracles happen. The best stories in sports happen in the playoffs. Well, except for the 2005 Astros. The best story was during the regular season.
Oh, and one more thing I want to mention about this series, special teams. Tampa was 1 for 7 on the power play.
Oh,
Columbus,
okay.
I believe, was 6 for 11, I believe. Huge difference.
Oh, dang. So Tampa Bay not only like sucked during the neutral zone, they kind of did a lot of penalties. It seemed like a lot of penalties. That's gonna cost you, no matter how good you are.
Tampa got outplayed in 5v5, and they got completely dominated in special teams.
Yeah,
Both teams were tied for first on the penalty kill in the regular season at 85%. Tampa Bay had the best power play by a large margin in the regular season, and Columbus was one of the worst. It seems like it completely flipped.
That's what happens in the playoffs.
Yep. Half the time when Columbus got a power play in the regular season, I wish you could just decline it because it just killed all momentum they have. They hardly ever scored on it and it looked terrible. But something changed and it just looked amazing. It was clicking every time they were out there. Even if they didn't score, they got tons of good looks.
Okay. Now we're going to be moving on to another game, another sweep. And this one, if you watch my picks video, I had the Penguins as a bigger pick and the Islanders as a bit smaller. But the Islanders just kind of swept the Penguins. So obviously the Penguins they're tiny. They suck. The Pens usually do pretty decent in the playoffs, but not this time. I'm ready to watch Urinating Tree. Trevor, do you know Urinating Tree?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for his vid on this.
His congratulations Tampa Bay video is going to be even better.
Well, I'm honestly prepared for his congratulations pins because he goes batshit crazy whenever a Pittsburgh team loses. So the Islanders swept the Pens. There were some pretty dominant games too. Like, were there any close games between the Pens and the Islanders? Because I don't think there was.
No,
like game one,
Islanders
won 3-1 in the first game. The second game they won 4-1. No, that was the third game. The third game they won 4-1. The second game they went 3-1.
Yes, so
Yeah,
so in every game except one was close. That 4-1 win for New York, they completely dominated the game. The other three games,
you said a 3-1 close.
no, the 4-1 was not close. The other three games, all of them were 1-goal games with empty netters at the end. They were very close. Or two of them were 1-goal games with empty netters at the end. The other was an OT win.
Yes. The way I see it, if you're like in a low-scoring game, like hockey or soccer, if you win by more than 1 goal, I call that a pretty dominant win. Like that's the way I see it. But again, I need to get into hockey, which I probably will once we get a Houston team, and I'm gonna do some soccer videos in the video when it comes to their playoffs and the U.S. Open Cup, which I'll probably have another guest for because I know a little about that too.
So a few things for this series. Pittsburgh's leading point getter only had 3 points. That they were shut down by New York's defense and their goalie Robert Leonard. Leonard played amazing. He's definitely been the best goalie in the playoffs so far. New York held Sidney Crosby to no points all series, and Jake Gensel and Phil Kessel would have won each. But no, Kessel had 2, Gensel had 1. So they shut down Pittsburgh's top guys, just like Columbus shut down Tampa's top guys. Tampa's 4 best players combined for 4 points, I believe, in the entire series. On the other hand, Jordan Eberle came alive for the New York Islanders. He was a good middle 6 player, I believe, in the regular season for them. He had 6 points in 2 games with 2 goals and 2 assists, or 4 goals, 2 assists. He had a great series, not just scoring, but all around.
You got your say out? Going on to the picks. On this one, I picked the Pens in 7 games, which now looks extremely stupid because they got swept. Kind of like how, and I just kind of thought, even though they're the lower seed, I thought they'd win. But since I got nothing right here, I get 0 points. I got nothing right, no bonus points, no points for the games, no points for the team. I just was all out wrong on this pick. The Penguins failed me. Miserable. They failed me big time.
Yeah, so I picked New York in 7 games as well with the games part. Picked the other team though. But going into the playoffs, I said New York could very well make the conference finals and maybe even the cup final. Every one of my hockey buddies laughed at me. They said no way they could pass Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a playoff team. I thought New York could shut it down, play excellent defense, and have their great goaltending. That's exactly what happened.
So look who's laughing now.
It was only in 4 games, though.
Yeah, so I bet you're laughing now.
Oh, yeah. And I'm happy because Pittsburgh's out. Pittsburgh is the only team in the league that I despise.
Well, I don't exactly despise any team in the league because, like I said, I'm not really that big into hockey right now because the stupid Arrows left us for some stupid reason. So I'm with the Stars. I guess they have a rival with the Wild, I guess, and the Predators. But like Trevor likes the Blue Jackets, so fuck the Blue Jackets, I guess. Okay, moving on to the next series. They are still in the middle of the series. Right now, the Maple Leafs lead the series 2-1. The Toronto Maple Leafs lead the series 2-1 against the Bruins. And this has honestly been a pretty interesting series, in my opinion. I've actually kept somewhat of an eye on because I've kept an eye on it because I was told how stupid it was to pick the Maple Leafs because the Boston Bruins dominate the Maple Leafs in the postseason all the time. Well, right now they're leading the series, so I guess they're not dominating the Maple Leafs right now are they?
Oh no.
And the really the only game that was kind of a blowout, really, so far was the Bruins actually won their one game.
Yep.
Because actually the Maple Leafs first game was kind of a blowout. It was 4-1,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
so each of the first two games, Toronto with the first game, Boston with the second game, each of them dominated those games for the most part. They
And then
and
yeah, so
and in game two, Boston very well could have scored 7 or 8 goals there. Frederik Andersen's been outstanding for Toronto. In net, he's been very good for them and saved tons of goals. His defense hasn't given him any help at all.
yeah. Like the first,
Without Andersen back there, they're down 3-0 instead of up 2-1.
yeah, the first two games they were definitely interesting because the Maple Leafs went in and they like dominated the Bruins, and then the Bruins come back and they dominate the Maple Leafs. It was the purest definition of a back and forth, in my opinion. It was such an odd sight, but it was an interesting one. And then game three happened, and instead of either one dominating, it was a really close one-score game. Maple Leafs barely won 3-2, and it looked like the Bruins were going to beat them. There was a time when the Bruins had the lead. So it was. This just has been a pretty interesting series because it really doesn't make any sense. One team dominates, then the other dominates, and then it's a close game. Not typically how things normally work. Normally, one team dominates throughout the series, or it's normally a close game throughout the series.
Yep.
So it's just
this series could actually be a lot like Warriors Cavs finals in 2016. Every game of that series until game 7 was a blowout. Every game 1 through 6 was a win by 15 points or more. So it could go back and forth like that.
yeah. So this just has been an interesting series, and so whenever we look at the picks, like I said, I'm picking the Toronto Maple Leafs, and all y'all laughed at me, but they're winning the series right now, so they're not being dominated by the Bruins at this point. So at this point, even if I'm wrong and the Bruins win, I feel pretty proud about myself, and y'all can't laugh saying the Bruins dominated them because they really haven't so far. They only dominated one game.
And something to mention, right now that we've passed the series that have already ended, we are repicking the series from this point on now, given our updated predictions. However, these won't have any impact on our points in the standings versus each other.
Not at all. Well, for me, I have 2 possible points still for the Toronto Maple Leafs in 7 games because it could still theoretically go to 7 games, and the Toronto Maple Leafs still have a chance to win. So there's still 2 possible points. I don't have any points so far in this game, in this series, but I do have 2 possible points, and honestly, I'm still comfortable with this pick. I still think this can go all the way to 7 games, and I still think the Maple Leafs will win. I honestly don't have any reason to change my pick here at all because it's going pretty well for the Maple Leafs, and judging by how it's gone so far, it could easily go to 7 games.
Oh yeah. So me on the other hand, I had Boston 6 games in the predictions. I'm going to flip and stay the same games. I'm saying Toronto in 6 now. I think that they win one of the next 2 games, and then they go back home, finish the series in Toronto in 6 games. One thing to note, Nazem Kadri is, I believe he's the number 3 center for the Maple Leafs, but he's really a number 2 center. He's only playing number 3 because they have Tavares and Matthews, who are 2 franchise players. So he's almost a 30-goal scorer. I think he had 27 this year, but don't quote me on that.
Quote him on it.
He's done for the rest of the series. He was suspended for the cross-check to Jake DeBrus's head in that messy, chippy, dirty game 2 between both of them. Both guys all game. were throwing shots at each other, playing dirty. I, however, do not think that DeBrusque should have been suspended at all, and he wasn't. I just want to say I don't think he should have been, and they got it right there. Because on the knee-on-knee hit between him and Kadri, you can see from the side angle, DeBrusque is leading with his shoulder. He's going for a body check. The only reason the hit ended knee-on-knee was because Kadri jumped up and tried to contort his body to the side out of the way. I'm not saying that Kadri's stupid for trying to avoid the hit or anything, but I don't. Jake DeBrusque did some dirty things during that game. I don't believe this is one of them.
Okay. So he's flipping to the Maple Leafs, but it's not going to affect the points because these are predictions we made beforehand, and that may lead to some it may lead to some unfair point advantages. That's the way I see it. But he can change his picks. He thinks Maple Leafs are going to win now. But he thinks in 6. So if that goes right, we both get a point here. 1 point. But we both still have 2 possible points from this series. So it's just none of us have a point yet, but it's 2 possible points for both of us.
Yep.
And the next series is going to be between the Hurricanes and the Capitals. Oh, man. Sorry. The Hurricanes and the Capitals, which the Capitals lead 2-1. And honestly, yes, I know the Hurricanes won the game, but I still have no faith in the Hurricanes, mostly because of Urinating Tree and how much they keep craps on the Hurricanes, so I can know how crap they are. I'm just going to trust them. Yeah, Urinating Tree is like my primary source for hockey news, other than Google. It's like Google and Urinating Tree. Those are my sources for hockey news.
Yep, and me.
And you.
Yeah. So moving on into the series so far, Capitals have a 2-1 lead. Caps won game 1 and 2 at home by 1 goal apiece each. The first game was regulation. The second game was an OT win for them. I think game 1 was 3-2, and game 2 was 4-3 for Washington. Then game 3, Carolina came out of nowhere and won 5-0.
Damn, yeah, that's still shocking.
Yeah, this series is about what you could have expected out of it, aside from the fact that both power plays have been pretty bad, especially Washington's. Washington started off game 1 with 2 power play goals in the first period. That thing's gone dry for them since. I think they've had 5-on-3s and couldn't bury them. They had a 5-minute major to Michael Ferland in game 2 that he shouldn't have been ejected for, but nonetheless, they got a 5-minute power play, got nothing out of it. So maybe not necessarily in this series they'll need it, but definitely moving on in the second round against New York, they'll definitely need their power play back to where it was.
Yeah, so this thing has been pretty predictable with the Capitals winning. And yes, I did believe the Hurricanes would be able to win the game, but dang, I did not think it was going to be an 0-5, a 5-0 win. I did not see that one coming. I'm sorry. But this goes to show that the Hurricanes, if they actually figure out themselves out, I guess they could technically win the series. You know, that game proves that they have the capability going. But I don't know. So when it comes to the picks, I still have 2 possible points. I had the Capitals in 5 games. I'm thinking it's actually probably going to go to 6 games because the Hurricanes have 1 more home game, and I think they're going to win another. But judging by how this home game went, I think they're going to win the next home game, and then they're going to go away and lose 2 against the Capitals and end up losing the series 4-2 in 6 games. But that's not going to affect the points. I still have 2 possible points with the Washington Capitals in 5 games. I still think Capitals are going to win because I just have no faith in the Hurricanes. Urinating Tree kind of hammered that in me. Hurricanes, they suck. No one goes to Hurricanes suck. No one goes to their games. Please give us some money. Those are basically his videos on the Hurricanes. And go on, Trevor.
All right, so I had Washington in 6 to start. We basically flipped. I'm going Washington in 5 now. I think Washington got that slap in the face in Game 3. They're going to come back fired up. They're going to win in Carolina, and then they'll close out. They will close it out in front of their home crowd in Game 5.
Okay, so we just flipped it.
Yep, that's all I've got to say on it. I think this series is pretty simple.
Yeah, this Capitals are obviously the better team. They did win the World Series Cup last year.
Carolina,
the World Series Cup.
The Stanley Cup.
I meant baseball. This is the baseball.
Yeah. So, Carolina's that typical young up and coming team that tries really hard against one of the playoff veteran teams, and they try really hard, but they just aren't going to be able to come out on top.
Yeah, the only way I see Washington losing the series is because of Stanley Cup hangover. You know, the thing that plagues teams, they win a championship. Like the hangover really only works in every single type of sport except for basketball, apparently, because basketball you have back-to-back wins practically all the time. But like all the other sports, you have these hangovers, and the only reason why I see the Capitals losing is because they get the hangover, Stanley Cup hangover.
Mm-hmm. All right, so, well, we can move on to the West now.
We got a NHL Eastern Conference little update part.
Oh yes, we do.
I have a total of 1 point. Trevor has a total of 1 point. I have a total of 4 possible points, and Trevor has a total of 4 possible points, for really a total of possibility for each of us 5 points each. So we're exactly tied here. And now we can move on to the NHL Western Conference. Maybe we can break the tie, or maybe not. The first series in the West was between the Blues and the Jets. In this, after 4 games, is exactly split 2-2. The St. Louis Blues and the Winnipeg Jets. Honestly, 2 teams I find exactly no interest in, but I've kind of been keeping an eye on the games.
Oh man, I completely disagree. Apart from the Columbus series that I'm involved in, this has been the most entertaining series for me by far. I'm loving these 2 teams going at it, and I can't wait even more for whoever. If Nashville wins against Dallas, I can't wait for the winner of this versus Nashville.
No, Nashville can't win. They're a Tennessee team, okay? They're a Tennessee team. They can't win against Texas. I'm sorry. That can't happen.
Yeah, so basically, St. Louis won Game 1 and 2 in Winnipeg. Winnipeg won Game 3 and Game 4 in St. Louis. They both won both the road games, both lost both the home games. A bit odd, but not completely uncommon, as that's what's happened in the Blue Jackets Capitals series last year.
Yeah, this has been a pretty interesting series. It's just I've not been really paying too close of attention on it. I just really haven't been interested in these 2 teams at all. Like for me, there's no real reason to be interested in these 2 teams. The Maple Leafs I was interested in because I was told it was a horrible pick, so I'm like, oh yeah. The Blue Jackets I was interested in because you like them. The Stars I'm interested in because, well, they're my team. And in the Avalanche of Flames I was kind of interested in because I just kind of like the concept of hot versus cold. Like even though they're 2-2, they've had some pretty interesting games. I'm just not a hockey fan as of yet. I don't have a Houston team. So without anything to entice me, I'm just not interested in these 2 teams in the series. I don't really care who wins. No team really sticks out for any reason, like at all for me. So they're tied at 2-2. It really is a good series as they go back and forth.
For me, I'm rooting on Winnipeg in the West. I'm not a Winnipeg fan by any means, but basically I said that they were going to the Cup final at the start of the season. So basically I'm rooting on them because I want to be right.
Yeah, so you want to be right so bad.
Yep.
All right, well, they're the Jets, and judging by, I do know something about football, and the Jets aren't that good in football, so I'm not gonna bet. I'm gonna bet against them in hockey.
All right, moving on to our picks.
My pick was the St. Louis Blues in 7 games, and honestly, judging by how this is going, it's tied at 2-2. I'm keeping the 7 games. That there's no reason to change that at all, like at all, and I'm still going to be picking the Blues. I don't see any reason why the Blues can't win. I can see how the Jets can win. I can see how the Blues can win. But like I said, this is going back and forth. This is an interesting series. This could go either way at this point, tied at 2-2. So I'm just going to keep my pick as it is. I don't see any real reason to change it. I don't have any points here, but I still have 2 possible points. And there's that.
Yep. I'm doing the same exact thing. I'm sticking with my pick. I picked Winnipeg in 7. I'm sticking with Winnipeg in 7. After St. Louis went up 2-0, thought it was a little bit sketchy, but now that Winnipeg tied it up, I'm sticking with that pick.
Okay, Astros just got the 10th straight win. Okay.
Hey,
I was keeping somewhat of an eye on the Astros. Okay.
Hey, the Indians are still helping you out. They beat Seattle again.
They beat Seattle again. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trevor, and your Indians. Now we're ahead by 2. Oh, yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Nashville and Dallas series.
This series, yes, I have been paying attention to. This is my team. No, they're not Houston, sadly. But yeah, if they were in Houston, I would actually know something about hockey. But so I have to have Trevor because there is no Houston team. So I wasn't really paying attention after the Arrows left. But I do kind of pay attention to the Dallas somewhat. They are a Texas team. I do cheer for them. Plus, as a bonus, they're actually my favorite color, green. So I like the Dallas. Also, they actually won the year I was born. They won the Stanley Cup the year I was born. They are my favorite color, and they are a Texas team. The only thing missing is they're not in Houston, okay? That's the only thing missing. Everything's perfect. If they can move from Dallas to Houston, it'd be 100% perfect. So this series has been pretty interesting. It's been really close games. Like practically, it's been low-scoring games, one-scoring games, like the entire series.
Yeah. So what I said in our predictions video is going to be very close games. What I didn't expect, though, they have been low-scoring. I expected the goalies to be outstanding, and they both have been outstanding so far. What I didn't expect, though, the offenses are doing pretty well. The Dallas and Nashville both have gotten some amazing chances on the goalies, and they're still shutting them down. I expected both goalies to play great, but I expected the offensive to kind of stutter. That's not happened. The offenses have both gotten some really good chances, and the goalies have just shut them down.
Yeah, the offense. It's like the offense have realized that they really need to pick up because they realize they're going against good defense, so they're doing their best, and they like picked up their game for this series. Both teams are going for the win. It's like they're both going for the title. It's like title or bust for both. That's the way they're playing, and so that's what I expect out of my Stars. It's title or bust. We win the Stanley Cup, or we lose. With the way that our goalie Bishop is playing, with the way the offense has picked up, I'm not changing my pick from the Stars. I expect a lot out of the Stars right now because they're doing pretty well, and I think they can win this. And plus, we're going against Tennessee. Okay, we got to beat Tennessee. Tennessee has been a rival to Texas for I don't know how long, almost as big of a rival as Oklahoma. So Oklahoma and Tennessee are like the 2 big Texas rivals. So we got to beat Tennessee. Like my pick was the Dallas Stars in 7 games. I ain't changing it. I can still see the points 7 games, and I can still see my Dallas Stars winning. And like I said, my number 1 rule: never pick against your team.
Yep.
So, and I have two possible points, and so that's the way. That's just the way things stand here. I'm not changing it. And as you can see, they did win the first game. They can win this series. This can go to 7. This isn't just coming out of my ass, even though it may seem like it. They are a wild card team, but they're a good wild card team.
Yep. So, as for me, I picked Nashville in 4 games, so obviously I have to change my pick in some way.
Yeah,
Because
because
4 games is not a possibility anymore. One thing you mentioned about the defenses tightening up, that brings me back to what I was saying about the offenses getting good chances. I am extremely impressed with Dallas's offense with what they've been able to get, considering that Nashville has either first or second best D-man pairings in the league with Subban, Ellis, Ekholm, and Yossi. They've got the best top 4 in the league. Second, maybe to San Jose, although San Jose is more offensive oriented than Nashville is. Nashville's top 4 D man are they're more two-way focused or defensive focused, and it really shows. But again, I'm impressed with Dallas being able to get so many chances on them. For me, my updated prediction comes down to one thing. I am 100% confident that Nashville wins Game 5 at home. So the question is, do they win or lose Game 4? I think Nashville wins Game 4. So I'm picking the Predators in 5 games with my updated prediction.
Okay. Yeah, well, Trevor was obviously wrong with the number game, so he doesn't have the 2 possible points. He has 1 possible point. And if he's right, he's right. He gets the 1 point. And so we move on to the next game. The Vegas Golden Knights versus the San Jose Sharks. Now, this has been, in my opinion, pretty predictable. The Golden Knights won 5-3 in the first game, game 2. They won in the first game, won in game 2. No, they've lost the first game. They won in game 2, and then they won in game 3. It's they had a slow.
And they just finished up about 10 minutes ago. They just finished up game 4 with a 5-0 win.
Yeah. So, I was looking. We started this before the game, and with the way it was going, clearly I predicted they were going to win this game. So that's why I had 3-1. They were going to win. It's been pretty predictable. San Jose Sharks. The Golden Knights started slow, but now they're practically up to pace to win the series exactly the way, not the exactly way I predicted, but they're going to win the series pretty easily.
Yeah. So
so
a recap of the series so far: San Jose took game 1. That it seemed like they broke. It almost seemed like they broke Fleury in that game 1. He's usually very calm, very poised, but you could tell San Jose was definitely getting into his head a bit, mostly by crashing the net, stirring up stuff post whistle, that kind of stuff. Since then, though, Fleury's been pretty solid, especially tonight with his shutout win. He did give up 3 goals in game 2, I believe, but he's been pretty solid since game 1. This series had exactly what I expected. Lots of hits. In the first period of game 1, the teams totaled almost 40 hits, which was insane. It also has lots of post-whistle stuff because the teams absolutely despise each other. And the third thing was lots of goals by Vegas. Martin Jones has been pulled in 3 of the 4 games, I believe, for San Jose. Martin Jones is the reason San Jose is losing the series. Exactly what I expected. I expected Vegas to expose Martin Jones. He has not been very good this year. He's gotten even worse in the playoffs. He honestly can't save a beach ball right now. and Aaron Dell hasn't fared much better, and I don't expect him to fare better if they do opt to start him in Game 5 and going forward. One huge thing for Vegas, their second line of Mark Stone, Paul Stastny, and Max Pacioretty. Through the 4 games, they've combined for 28 points. That's absurd.
Yeah.
Each player is averaging over 2 points a game. That second line for Vegas has been far and away the best line of these playoffs so far. If they keep that up, who knows, that they might have 150 points if they get to the Cup. Vegas has got, after the season, Vegas has got to send a thank you letter for Ottawa for trading Mark Stone at the deadline, and one to Montreal for sending them Max Pacioretty for just a second-round pick in the offseason. And that's basically it for the recap so far. This has been a very fun series to watch. Very entertaining.
Well, like I said, this was pretty predictable because I did kind of think the Golden Knights would start kind of a little bit slow. I think the San Jose Sharks would start out pretty strong, but I thought they would last a bit longer than they have. The San Jose Sharks seem to have just completely fallen apart. I had the Golden Knights in 7 games because I thought the San Jose Sharks would be able to kind of hold the ground for a little bit longer than they have. Clearly, they haven't. I still have 2 possible points because I guess it's theoretically possible they can go to 7, even though at this point it's like extremely unlikely. I think Golden Knights are going to win the next game and win the series in 5. Like that's my new pick. It's going to be the Golden Knights in 5 games.
Yep.
Because that's the thing that makes the most sense at this point. I don't see the San Jose Sharks winning any more games. But it's theoretically possible I could have 2 possible points. So there's that.
That's exactly what I think. I think Vegas wins in 5 now. San Jose gets Joe Thornton back for Game 5 from his 1-game suspension for that hit on Max Pacioretty. I don't think it matters. I think whoever starts at goalie for San Jose lets in 4 goals at the very least. I don't see it going to Game 6, but if it does, it's in Vegas. It's one of the hardest places to play in the league. So I'm predicting 5 games with Vegas winning the next one to take a series. But if it were to go to 6, I fully expect Vegas to win that game.
Yeah. So Trevor, he also has 2 possible points in this because Vegas could still win and it could still happen in 6 games. So he still has 2 possible points. In Vegas, with how y'all went last season, y'all went all the way to the Stanley Cup. Y'all have high expectations. Like for the next, if you don't win it this year, like the next 2-3 years, it's like Stanley Cup or bust. Not playoff or bust. It's Stanley Cup or bust because of y'all started your first season. Y'all made it all the way to the Stanley Cup and then lost in the Stanley Cup. Your expectations, you set the bar high. It's Stanley Cup win or bust for y'all for the next 3 seasons. Now, we can move on to the next game.
Mm-hmm.
The next series. I keep saying game. It's series. This part should be easy for me because I do baseball, and baseball also does series.
Yep.
All right. The next series is between the Avalanche and the Flames. In this one, I really do find interesting just because of the concept of hot and cold. The Avalanche with the ice and the Flames with the, fire. I just like the idea of hot versus cold. It's just, if only it was like at the finals, if only like the Avalanche was like in the East and the Flames were in the West, and then they fought each other in the Stanley Cup. That would be like the most interesting Stanley Cup ever, in my opinion. The whole theme would be fire versus ice. If I was like the owner of the NHL and the Flames and the Avalanche were in 2 different conferences and they faced each other in the Stanley Cup, I would make sure everyone knows that the theme of this Stanley Cup is hot versus cold. That's what I would do. I don't know why, I just like that whole concept. And so that's why I kind of find this series entertaining just because of that. And so this has been a pretty entertaining series. The Flames started out extremely hot, not only shutting out the Avalanche, but scoring 4 goals. It was a 4-0 win the first game. But then, so the Flames started hot and the Avalanche started cold. But then in game two, it was a very close game where the Avalanche won in overtime, 3-2. So they were both kind of they were meeting each other even, but then the Avalanche got the upper hand. And after that game, it seems like the Flames got ice cold and the cold got really hot. So it's kind of ironic. They switched places. It's like they froze the fire, turned into ice fire, and then the Avalanche turned into like molten lava avalanche. Because the next game, the Avalanche won 6-2. Okay, like I don't care if it's open net or not. Like 6-2, that's got to be a dominant win.
Yeah, Colorado came back roaring after that shutout loss in the first game and just dominated in game 3 at home. Something that I doubt you're aware of. Colorado signed Cole Makar, and he played game 3. He scored a goal in his first ever NHL game, also his first NHL playoff game. So, for you,
Obviously, I'm not aware of this because I don't.
Yeah, for you, Mania. So, the hockey NHL has minor leagues like MLB, except they aren't all tied together under the MLB. There's numerous different ones. The AHL is the AAA equivalent of hockey.
I know the AHL. That's where the arrows were in.
Yeah, but there's tons of other leagues. There's some in Europe. There's the college, obviously, and there's other sort of like double A and single A in baseball. So Cole Makar just finished his college season, and he signed with Colorado now. So players are drafted, and they can still go play college. They can sign with teams in Europe. Happens all the time. And the way the league works, if you own the rights to a player and they are playing for another team, like a college team, or they already have a contract with a European team or something, that they unless the other team, like a European team, opts to allow them to not honor that contract, they have to honor it. They have to honor it and play it out. So, like, this doesn't matter for the playoffs because he wasn't going to play anyway, but Columbus just brought in a couple weeks ago their goaltender prospect Elvis Merzlikins, and he was playing for HC Luongo in the Swiss League, and he's been there for 6 years. He's won their award for best goalie twice, I believe, and he probably would have been here earlier, like last year, but he had 1 year left on his contract with the Swiss team, so he had to honor that. So this time of year, each team usually has at least one guy. Some have multiple that are finishing up either the college season or their season in their other league, and then they immediately come over, sign with the team, and sometimes play the next game the next day. So basically, the rule is what I'm trying to say is if at the trade deadline the guy's on I'm not sure what the technical name of it is. It's like non-roster list or something like that. It's the reserve list, which basically means guys that you have the rights to sign, but are on another team, like in the minors or college or something like that. So anyone who's on that list at the trade deadline can play in the playoffs for you if you sign them. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Vegas also has a guy. Vegas and Colorado had the two main guys that were going to come up and play right away as soon as their seasons ended, and both of them have had good impacts so far. Sorry, that was a little long-winded. I just wanted to throw that out because it's pretty important for a couple teams.
It's all right. You can be all long-winded all you want, okay? The more runtime, the more it's the better for my channel.
Uh-huh.
All right, so let's just use that as our series recap because that was a bit long.
Yep.
And let's just go straight into our picks.
Yep.
I had the Flames in 5 games. Judging by how things are going now, I want to say Avalanche now, but I don't know. I want to say Avalanche, but I also got like a gut feeling that the Flames can still come back and win. It's a lot harder now. Okay, like earlier, it seemed kind of easy because the Flames kind of dominated in the regular season. They dominated it.
Yep.
But clearly the Avalanche came into this series and they came in. Well, they didn't come in strong, but they heated up. They took the Flames' heat and it gave them their cold.
Yep.
So they've gotten a lot better. I got 1 possible point right now because obviously, right?
Yep, because it's going to. Well, actually, no. You have both possible.
Yeah, I got 2. Yeah, I got both possible points instead of 1.
It could end in 5. No, wait, no.
It could end in 5.
I'm sorry. You do have 1 possible point because if it ends in 5s, if it ends in 5, you miss the team, and if you get Calgary right, it won't end in 5.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah. I only got 1 possible point.
Got confused for a second.
Yeah, I got confused for a second because I have 1 possible point. I'm trying to remember why because I'm like thinking it could end. Yeah, because if it ends in 5, it's not going to be the Flames that win. But if the Flames win, it's not going to end in 5. So just by basic numbers, it's this scenario that I picked. It's impossible. Yes, it can end in 5 games. Yes, the Flames can win. It can't be both. I want to change it to 6 games, and I want to change it to Avalanche. So I want to change the team and the number of games. I think the Avalanche could win in 6 games. And so now I think the Flames may have 1 more win in them, but judging by how the Avalanche have been playing recently, game 2 and game 3, I feel like the Avalanche are going to end up winning the series.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to get 0 points.
Well, my original pick was Calgary in 6. I'm really not sure what to do here. Arizona's playing really hot. Grubauer is playing great in net after completely crapping the bed against Columbus the first 2 games last year. He was Washington's backup all year, but he was hot going into the playoffs, so they stuck with him over their all-star goalie, Holtby. He proved them wrong, and he proved them why he shouldn't have done that in the first 2 games and got benched before Holtby came in and led the Caps to the Cup. Grubauer's done the opposite that year. He's played very well. Mike Smith has played pretty well the first 2 games at least. But the way I see it, this series goes 7. I have Colorado winning because Colorado has more depth, I think. Colorado can roll at least 3 lines. Their 4th is okay, but Calgary is basically 1 line plus like 2 other guys. Calgary has no depth. So when you get into a longer series, that's going to start to take a toll as guys get their ice time up, they get more tired. As much as they want to win, fatigue is going to set in. And when they can't, when their top guys get tons of ice time, that's going to set in quick. So I have Colorado in 7 updated.
So you predicting you're getting 0 points as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have 1 possible point. He has 2 possible points, and we both don't think we're getting any points in this. So we both think we're just completely wrong. And so when it comes to the NHL Western Conference, quick wrap up, none of us have points. Mm-hmm. We don't have
none of the
points.
Series are done yet. It's not possible.
None of the series are done. Yeah, it's not possible for us to have any points. I have a total of 7 possible points, and Trevor has a total of 7 possible points. So we tied in the East, and we tied in the West.
Yep.
So as of the recap right now, I have 1 point total. I have 0 bonus points. I have 11 possible points and 5 possible bonus points. I have a total of 1, but a possible total of 17. And Trevor, his
Same
looks
thing.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
The exact same. 1 point, 0 bonus points, 11 possible points, 5 possible bonus points, a total of 1, and a possible total of 17. We're tied for total points and tied for possible total points. So just take that as what you will. Neither one of us has any kind of lead in this right now.
Yep. And there's only 2 series done so far, and neither of them. One of them wasn't expected to go 4 games. The other one was expected to go 4 or 5 games, and it was supposed to go the other way. But
Yes.
as over the next couple days, by the end of the weekend, the points will start to roll in, or we'll start to find out that we aren't going to get them, and we'll have a better picture of where we'll be at after a couple more days.
Yeah. So
One
it's
thing I
just a quick
wanted to
recap.
do real quick is, I know you won't be able to, Mania, because you don't have as much knowledge and you haven't been watching as much. But I just wanted to do a quick Conn Smythe, not predictions, but just front runners for each team. The Conn Smythe is the playoff MVP, like the Final Four, most outstanding player in the NCAA tournament, that kind of thing. World Series MVP, that kind. Except it's for the entire tournament. So
Okay.
I won't include Tampa or Pittsburgh because they're both out, but I'll just go down the list of teams real quick. I won't give any reasons why, just not to stretch it out, but I'll just give 1 or 2 players for each team. So for my Blue Jackets, Matt Duchene and Sergei Bobrovsky. Going into the playoffs, I thought Bjorkstrand was going to be it, and it's possible he could, but those are the 2 front runners right now. For Toronto, it would be Frederik Andersen or Mitch Marner. For Boston, I'm honestly not sure. I haven't paid as much attention to Boston as I have Toronto, mostly because I want Toronto to win because I think there'll be an easier second round win for the Jackets. But just going off what I know about their players, I would probably put David Pastrnak in front so far. Possibly Jake DeBrusk though, because he got Kadri suspended the rest of the series, which will help his team out. Washington, Ovechkin, obviously, no need for an explanation there, even though I'm not giving him anyway. Carolina, this one's a bit tricky. It's not Aho because he hasn't been too hot, just like he wasn't in the regular season, but I'd probably just go with Mrazek because if Carolina makes it to the Cup, which I highly expect they won't, he'll have had to play outstanding. But New York, Leonard, no question. Josh Bailey would be the second, but Leonard is so far ahead of him because he's been outstanding in that. Bishop and Rene, the 2 goalies in the Nashville and Dallas series, those 2 are leading their team by far.
Of course, you gotta add Bishop.
Yeah. So, St. Louis, Tarasenko and Bennington are the 2 front runners for me. Winnipeg, I'd say Scheifele and Laine. And then for San Jose, no one, because I see no chance that they get out of the first round, and even less than a 0% chance they get into the Cup. So I'm just not giving anyone for them. And frankly,
a less than 0% chance. Yeah, how is that even possible?
It's not, but I'm going to say it is. But frankly, there's not. I can't even think of anyone that would deserve it for San Jose. Maybe Pavelski or Couture, but that'd be it. Vegas, anyone on the second line, Stone, Stastny, or Pacioretty, but Stone is a little bit ahead of those other 2 because he's been great, leads the playoffs in goals so far. And then Calgary, be Mike Smith or Johnny Gaudreau, and Colorado. Grubauer played really well in net, but McKinnon is ahead of him. Just played outstanding series so far. Right, so those are my Conn Smythe front runners right now. Could change, but that's just through the first few games. Assuming every team would make it to the Cup final in each specific scenario, those are my front runners for it.
The one that makes the most sense to me is Bishop.
Oh yeah. If Dallas gets to, not only so far, but if Dallas gets to the final, he will be like 50% the reason why.
Yes. Bishop, I know Bishop. He's like the only real name that I know in anything when it comes to hockey. And part of it is because he's on Dallas, and the other part is because he's a good player in Dallas.
Yeah.
Like, you go onto the Dallas Twitter feed, you see Bishop like 99% of the tweets.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have here, unless you want to add something else.
So I don't have too much to add. Like, I was watching baseball. Astros 10 straight. Great job. Can't wait for the MLB playoffs.
You
I'll
always
see
gotta
what
find
kind
a
of
way to put the Astros into everything.
they are my team in my sport. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally just got the 10. I was really watching them while we were doing the video because I ain't gonna stop watching them.
Oh yeah. I would have had a game pulled up from the playoffs if the games weren't done tonight. But
yeah, so you understand?
Yep, I completely get it. And since the playoffs started, I've probably watched 40 hours of hockey in the last week.
Man, that's a lot. I don't think I could do that. I've been mostly watching the highlights.
I have loved doing that. It is amazing to me. The first 2 or 3 weeks of the playoffs in the NHL are probably some of my favorite weeks of the year. It's just so much hockey.
It's probably because that's the weeks that your team usually plays because they get eliminated pretty early.
Yep. No.
It's true. It's got.
No, it's just because there's more games. There's usually 2 games going on at a time, so I can flip between them. Don't have to see many commercials because I always got another game to flip to usually. But yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't really watched too much hockey. I've watched mostly the highlights and the stars.
Yep. Well, you have anything else to say?
No, I don't. This is already too long. That's the longest video I've ever done.
Definitely too long. Well, I guess that's it for us.
We're tied. This is just a little quick recap of our picks in the series, and
using quotation marks.
Quick in quotation marks. Okay, but if you like this kind of style, you like to keep an eye on me and Trevor as we do our picks and see who wins in the series, please subscribe. If you aren't, I'm pretty sure the only people watching this are already subscribed but if you aren't subscribed because like one of your friends sent you this video, yeah, go ahead and subscribe. Keep an eye on this. I really need the subscribers. I need to get to 1,000. I'm only at 68 or 69 now. The 6th number. Yeah, nice. I'm at 69. Big. I'm going big, man. I'm almost at 70. Okay, but please, that would be a lot of help. Because I really want to be able to pump this out regularly like I do. And kind of like, it's a little bit hard. But I want to do this because I enjoy doing this kind of stuff. So being able to earn money on this would definitely help. So please subscribe. Give me to 1,000 so I can start making money. That's all I want to do. I just want to entertain people. I love entertaining people.